I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to explain what it is that affluent, successful clients expect from their relationship with a financial advisor. So, my name's MarkLittle. I've been a financial advisor for 40 years, more than 40 years. And along the way, I began studying and then I created a method of delivering what we call truly comprehensive financial services. But what am I on a mission for? Well, it goes back to what are we doing for our clients? I kind of took the whole question and turned it upside down and asked a different question than the industry typically asks. I went to the clients. Rather than go to the industry and say, what is comprehensive financial services or what should we be doing, oh, beloved financial services industry, when it comes to serving clients, I already knew all of that. I had been in the business for over a dozen years. I was really more curious what clients wanted. This was something that I had never seen any studies on, and I'm very data driven. I like to think that everything I do in my business is a data-driven strategy, that we are doing something because we have some evidence that it's necessary. All right. So I had never seen any studies of affluent, successful clients explaining, here's what I need from this relationship. I had never seen any studies that really detailed the expectations of affluent clients. The other thing, and I was just my own idle curiosity, I thought the other thing I'm going to study is what are they willing to pay the most for? So I was really looking for two things. What do the affluent, successful clients really want from this relationship? Like, what am I doing for them? And what do they think is the most valuable part of the service? Like, what are they willing to pay the most for? So I backed into it, and we have lots of videos on the 4 client expectations. The yielding of the answer to that question really boiled down to 4 things. And I'll go through them here in this video, but trust me, to unpack each and every one of these 4 expectations requires a separate video. And I've done lots of videos on the 4 client expectations. But the bottom line is what you need to know, and the purpose of this video is to know that I'm on a mission to persuade not every financial advisor, but if a financial advisor wants to be delivering a higher level of service to affluent ideal clients that is at a different and better level than literally anybody else in your market, you can be the only game in town. And that's the mission. So I realized 2 things about these 4 client expectations. Number one is clients, these are not just 4 expectations of clients going on and on of, wouldn't it be great if I had an advisor who did this, that, and the other? Yes, it was certainly that. But it was more just the frustration level of and especially the more affluent and the more successful the client, the more they described these 4 expectations in the terms of a frustration that these are the things that I expect as a client, and you'll never find them. I've tried. It's a client that says, I have looked for firms that will promise these 4 things. And, I might be able to find a firm that promises one of the 4 things. I might be able to find a firm that promises maybe even 2 of the 4 things. But to find a single firm that is willing and able to deliver on all 4 of the expectations, and this was pretty consistent. Like, the more affluent clients we surveyed on these 4 expectations, the more we discovered that the affluent, successful market is at a very high pain level in that they cannot find advisors to do what they want them to do. So that's the mission I'm on. It's to say, you can do this. Now, why don't advisors do it? And I'll say, well, bear with me for a second, because I'm going to tell you the difference between advisors who are willing to take this on and advisors who don't, and why. But let me just say this. Your initial instinct is to say, oh my gosh, that's horrible as to what it's going to take to get this in place. But I want you to resist the temptation to think this is a bad thing. I want you to think about what it takes to actually deliver on these 4 things. is actually a competitive advantage that you have. All right. So what is it? Why don't advisors implement whatever it takes to deliver on these four things that the more affluent, the more successful the client, the more they are frustrated that they can't find an advisor who does this. But if they did, they would fire their current advisor and they would hire you immediately and they would never leave you. Okay. So why is it that advisors don't implement these four things? Well, because it takes a lot of effort to get in place. So now let me tell you what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that you have to work tons and tons of hours, but let me just put it out there. And it depends on the advisor and how effective you are at implementing. But just count on, what if it took you 30 days of really intense effort to get this structure into place? And then it might take you up to maybe up to another year of working at least 40-hour weeks to get it in place. But what if I said after that, once you get the structure in place to deliver on these four client expectations that clients claim they can't find anywhere, at that point, you've delegated 100% of client service. Or let me put it another way. If you like some aspect of the services you're delivering to clients, if you're asking, can you continue doing that? Well, of course, it's your business. What I'm saying is, if you're a financial planner and you want to continue doing financial plans, you can do that. If you're a tax accountant and you love the tax planning and you're saying, so if I step up and deliver on these four client expectations and I delegate 100%, can I still do the tax planning, which I love doing? Yes, of course. What I'm saying is, you're building an infrastructure where you could delegate 100% of client service. And the reason I'm telling you that is, I don't know, if you've ever read the 4-Hour Work Week, once you've put in the effort and gotten the infrastructure in place, call it 30 days of really intense work, and then maybe up to another 12 months of getting the moving parts in place. Well, after that, you've got the 4-Hour Work Week. I mean, if you want to work 4 hours a week for the rest of your life and still see your business growing, the metrics that we focus on is, solid, sound, and sustainable. So those are the three metrics that we focus on, that we insist represents a successful business. So the solid, sound, sustainable. So what is that? So client satisfaction. The metric that we use to make sure that your client satisfaction is not just high, it's extraordinarily high. We do that by measuring client referrals. So what if after implementing this model, you're investing, let's call it 4 hours a week, managing the business thereafter, yet your client referrals continue to rise, even without your full day-to-day involvement? What if the second metric is that you're growing new business year over year? So what do I mean by that? You're not just growing your assets under management, which means if the markets go up, your revenue goes up. No. I'm talking about if we separately accounted for new clients, new revenue coming in from new sources, that should be growing year over year. Wouldn't you agree? If your business was growing new revenue every year, year over year, you have higher new business revenue than you did the previous year, that's a growing business, and that's healthy. So you have increasing client referrals, your business is growing new revenue year over year with you just working 4 hours a week. And then finally, sustainability. That's the key metric, which means if there's any turnover of team ever on your team, the sustainability part means that your clients are unaffected by team turnover. And that means even if you leave. So what if your business is growing year over year, your client referrals keep rising year over year, and you could delegate 100% of client service and the clients are unaffected, which means you have a sustainable business? Those three metrics are working great. Could you get to a point where you're just putting in a handful of hours, or maybe you delegate the whole thing and you're not managing any of it? Yes, you can. So what am I saying is the industry advantage? If you're willing to put in the hours and make the effort in the first 30 days, and then ultimately over the next year, for about a year, to get all of this up and running and to get the infrastructure in place to deliver on the 4 client expectations, Would you be willing to work a little harder for a very short period of time so that the rest of your career you could, have a more valuable business that you could just enjoy the revenue stream, or you could ultimately sell for a higher valuation if someday you want to sell your business? So that's my mission. I wanted to share it with you. I am looking for advisors who want to implement this vision, or at the very least are interested enough, you'd like to jump in the river, see what it would take to get this method into place. And we've got a website that offers lots of free content around this model. And that's the mission that I'm on. If this sounds interesting to you at all, then I recommend that you go to our site, themarkofmastery.com. That's themarkofmastery.com, and join the community. It's free. There's no charge. You just, come on in. The water's fine. Just become a member of the Mark of Mastery community, which all that means is you're going to dig into it until you feel like you understand the 4 client expectations and what it's going to take to get to that level. And then you're at a fork in the road at that point. Once you understand what we're talking about, the model that is perfectly aligned with what affluent, successful, complicated, next level clients, this is what they expect. This is what they perceive as different and better. This is if they were designing a financial advisory relationship and a financial advisory firm, this is how they would design it. So you are delivering what the client wants, and you are focusing on the things that are most valuable to the client, in that these are the things that the client will pay the most for. If all this sounds interesting to you, you should join the markofmastery.com community. And lots of free content in there. And then when you get to the fork in the road and say, I'm ready to implement this, who knows? There is so much content at themarkofmastery.com. Could you implement this model just in the free site and the free community? Absolutely. There's ample there. I'm cranking out content all the time. I encourage you to put your questions and your comments on the page with the video so that we can kind of see where you're stuck or what you're struggling with as you attempt to implement all this. And if you need more attention, we can certainly do that as well. We do have a paid program. It's $200 a month. So it's not this thing that's out there thinking, oh my gosh, he's holding back. He's got this huge, massive coaching program. And I've been involved in, I would say, the most high-end coaching programs in the financial services industry. I've been a part of these programs. This is not that. All I do in this program is lay out exactly, precisely, step by step, what do you need to implement to create a truly comprehensive financial services delivered in a way that the clients will jump at the chance. Now, and you have a high probability of being like totally different, radically better than anybody else in your community, so that you can look a potential client in the eye and say something like this: look, Mr. and Mrs. potential client, I'm not 100% sure what you're looking for, but if what you're looking for is what we deliver, which is boom, 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 these 4 client expectations, I can tell you one thing: we're the only game in town. Like, you go ahead, go interview other firms, but just keep in mind, if these are the 4 things that resonate with you, if these are the 4 expectations that you have of a firm, then I can tell you right now, we are the only firm in this community that is willing and able to pledge these 4 things to you. So I'll end with that. What are the 4 things? Big buildup. And like I say, there's many other videos on these 4 client expectations, but they are protection, attention, coordination, transparency. Protection, attention, coordination, transparency. PACT is the acronym. So we talk about making an advisor pact with every new client. So when you're talking to a potential client, we use PACT as an acronym so that you remember, I need to protect the client. I need to have their back. That's what they want. I need to pay attention, which means we got to be so proactive that if they ever drift off track from their goals, we know about it before they do. Like, we are paying attention. to their situation. Coordination, it's the acknowledgement that these affluent clients have a lot of financial people in their life and a lot of financial products that they've accumulated over the years, yet nobody on their team is stepping up to coordinate all this stuff. So who's insisting that all the tax accountant and the estate planning lawyer and the insurance agents and whoever the client's got working kind of currently on their team, who's stepping up and saying, I'll volunteer to coordinate all them and make sure they're talking, make sure that they are perfectly aligned with what you're trying to achieve, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Protection, attention, coordination, transparency. This is, for some clients, this is the number one issue. You ask them, what are you paying for your financial services? And they say, well, my money's being managed by this company. And so what are you paying for that? And they say, nothing. No, I transferred all my money over there. There's no fees. It's a no fee platform. And all my money's investment management is being done there at no charge. To which I'm saying, so they're doing this for free. There's no internal charges. There's no 12B1s. And if it's a mutual fund, or there's no hidden fees, there's no annual expense ratios or anything. And the client says, not as far as I know. And it's like, wow. Okay. So now we need to kind of dive deep into this client if they want to, and challenge that and say, well, why don't you let us do a truth and fees exercise and kind of dig into what you've got. Let's see if you're paying nothing. Let's see if it's actually free. And I think as well as I do, that's a very moment of truth. That's a very uncomfortable moment of truth for them, not for you. So protection, attention, coordination, and who's going to step up and agree to look at their overall holdings and determine with full transparency, what are you actually paying, Mr. and Mrs. Client, for all these financial people in your life and all these financial products that you've accumulated? What's it actually costing you? And you're the one that steps up and you commit and promise and pledge to lift the veil on that transparency. So those are the 4 client expectations. You're listening to this thinking, well, that doesn't sound too hard, but it is. And I will just leave you with that if you can actually deliver on these 4 things, not in the way that you're interpreting them right now, which is kind of the industry interpretation, but it's if you can deliver on these 4 client expectations in the way the client is thinking of these 4 things and what they mean when they say these 4 things. Well, that's what takes a little bit of time and effort, and it is possible, but it takes time. So once you crack the code and you realize what you have to promise to do, and you realize there's actually quite a bit to deliver on these 4 things, and then you're wondering, am I willing to make the effort to step up and work more hours than I have maybe in many, many years, but am I willing to really put on my track shoes for 30 days and put in the hours to get this up and running in about a month, and then to invest the next year to build and lead my team to get it all into place so that after that, I can just enjoy the firm and my clients are enjoying the firm and everything's moving in the right direction with as little or as much involvement by you as you choose. So if it sounds interesting, become a free member of the Mark of Mastery community, and we'll see you in the next video.